Double or Nothing on Sunday was easily the best pro wrestling pay-per-view we've gotten all year. And we're going to talk about why.
Summon the Spectre.
What's good, y'all? Welcome to episode 19 of the SpectreVerse Podcast. I'm your host, JariSpectre, and today we are covering everything in the world of WWE and AEW that happened this week. Honestly, we got a lot of wrestling to cover. A lot of wrestling. We got Raw, SmackDown, Dynamite, Saturday night's main event, and Double or Nothing. There was a lot of wrestling that we got over this week. Honestly, the majority of the in-ring stuff was actually really, really good. And we're going to start today's episode with easily by far the best pro wrestling that we have seen all this week, hell, all this year so far. And I'm putting it above WrestleMania, Night 2 specifically. And that is what we got from AEW at Double or Nothing this past Sunday. Double or Nothing was by far the best pay-per-view from start to finish in ring that I think the company has ever done. It is definitely up there, if not number one. Hands down. There's no questions. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. It's the truth. Double or Nothing on Sunday was easily the best pro wrestling pay-per-view we've gotten all year. And we're going to talk about why. We can literally just hop right into the match card, and that's exactly what we're going to do. The show started off Edge and Christian, or Cope and Christian, I should say, versus FTR in an I Quit match. This was phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. They defended their tag team titles. If Edge, I keep saying Edge, fuck me. If Cope and Christian quit, they have to disband as a tag team forever. There was a lot of weapons, a lot of cool spots. There was a cinder block spot that I know went viral with Christian Cage's arm, his already broken wrist inside of the cinder block as Dax is smashing it with a chair. And the referee grabs the microphone, sticks it in his face, and he says, "I banged your mother." Absolutely fucking phenomenal. Christian is such a treasure in the wrestling business. All around. Hope and Christian aggressively attacked FTR after that. It ended up escalating into a very street fight-esque atmosphere. Hope and Christian ended up winning the match and became the new tag team champions, and it was easily one of the loudest reactions of the entire night. Obviously, we knew for a fact, as far as storyline goes from what we were given on Dynamite, we all had that thought in our mind that Hope and Christian are not going to disband as a tag team. There's plenty of matches that they can still do together before they officially hang up the boots. And it was just a matter of time before AEW pulled the trigger and gave them the belts. I'm glad they picked this night to do it. I think it was the perfect time. And honestly, the match exceeded expectations. It's very, it's very hard to go into a certain match like that when you got guys the ages of Cope and Christian and hope that they can put on a banger. But honestly, that's exactly what we got. So we got new tag team champions. Very, very happy for them. And considering all the new tag teams that are rumored to be coming into AEW, aka the Motor City Machine Guns, the New Day, they're going to have competition lined up for them for a good chunk of time. So this was definitely the right move. Then we immediately follow into the, by far, the match of the night. And that was Kazuchika Okada versus Konosuke Takeshita for the International Championship. Obviously, I'm not going to go move for move because I was watching this pay-per-view, keep in mind, while I was at my girlfriend's family's house on my phone. So I could only take so many notes in between. But this match, if you guys missed Kazuchika Okada and Takeshita, go back, do yourself a service. Go back and watch it. Easily match of the year so far. If not, honestly, it would probably be second to Roman and Punk at Mania. But even then, it's kind of like a so-so. If we're talking from an in-ring standpoint, match of the night, and so far match of the year. My personal opinion, obviously. But this match was fucking wild. Insane spots. It could have done a little less on the no selling towards the end, but obviously that was the big spot of the night. That's what people remember the most. It was very much a big dream match. There were a bunch of heavy shots, great sequences, and honestly, the right person won. We got a brand new international champion in Konosuke Takeshita, but that's not what was also the talking point. It's what happened after the match. After the match, Kyle Fletcher makes his return to AEW. Now keep in mind, Kyle was out with a torn meniscus and a broken fibula. Honestly, should have been out for 6 to 8 months. He was back in 2 months, not even. Probably less than that if I'm being honest, maybe 6, 8 weeks. That's insane. So the fact that he came out and he came to the aid, or what appeared to be coming to the aid of Takeshita, he raised his arm up, handed over the title, and then clotheslined him, essentially realigning himself with the Don Callis family now that he's back, and officially exiling Takeshita from the Don Callis family, which honestly is the right move. Takeshita is so damn good and is so over as a babyface right now, you can't have him be in a heel faction. Okada, it works. Mark Davis, fine, it works. And Fletcher, yeah, it works. I feel like that's helped him in his career so far. But I just wish that they would dumb down how many people they put in these factions. A faction of fucking 12 people is ridiculous. At most, 8. 8 should be your max. But that's just my brutal, honest opinion. Obviously, everybody's opinion is going to be different. But you ever just look at a Don Callis family and be like, God, they're my favorite fucking team. All 14 of them. You know what I mean? So it's just for some people it works, but you don't necessarily need everybody in there. There's so many different opportunities for people. But either way, Okada and Takeshita fucking burned the house down, and we got the return of Kyle Fletcher, to the shock of everybody. The next match we had was Athena beating Mira Shirakawa in the Owen Hart tournament in the first round. Honestly, that was probably the right decision to make. Athena is fucking fantastic, and she's been underrated as hell for a very, very long time, so I'm glad she's finally getting her justice due in this tournament. Really no major notes here. It's definitely a filler match. Speaking of filler matches, let's get the next one out of the way. We had Jon Moxley versus Kyle O'Reilly for the Continental Championship. Just because I say it's a filler match doesn't mean it's a bad match. I'm just saying, as far as timing on the pay-per-view, because AEW pay-per-views like to run very long, I personally think that it could have went without this match. Moxley and O'Reilly did a phenomenal job with what they were given. And, for a Continental Championship, it didn't necessarily need to be on this pay-per-view. I don't think it necessarily fit. But at the same time, I see why they did it. It's your big pay-per-view. You want to get all your title matches out of the way. But there really wasn't much build towards this. The only build we got was from Dynamite, and that was in a Continental Eliminator match. And it ended up being a time limit draw. So it's just to me, it didn't necessarily fit. You know what I mean? But that doesn't mean it was bad. O'Reilly, during the match, was targeting the arms and the legs of Moxley. But Moxley ended up surviving several near-fall submissions, and he ended up retaining the championship after a Death Rider to Kyle O'Reilly for the 1, 2, 3. And then after the match, the Death Riders came out and they celebrated with Moxley. And as they were all walking away, out comes Will Ospreay for the next match. Will Ospreay versus Samoa Joe in the first round of the men's Owen Hart tournament. And Ospreay came out repping a very dark, it looked like it was a dark green and black. So almost like that mix of the Death Rider mixed with just the Will Ospreay attire. Looked very, very sick. But him and Samoa Joe absolutely killed it. A lot of cool sequences, a lot of cool near falls. And it was Ospreay's dream match. And this is exactly what you want. When you have a dream match with somebody and the booker and the promoter is willing to give it to you, like, this is what you hope and expect the match to end up being. It was phenomenal. But Ospreay ended up winning the match with multiple hidden blades to Samoa Joe. Very, very fun match. Very, very good. And Will Ospreay moves on to the second round of the tournament. I think, if we're being honest, this tournament is going to be really, really fun. Especially with considering who else advanced, which the next person that advanced for the men's side, it was Swerve Strickland and Bandito. And Swerve ended up beating Bandito with multiple house calls. There was a very, very fun spot where Bandito popped up Swerve, and Swerve was standing on the shoulders of Bandito, gave him a standing house call right into a double stomp for such a close near fall. It was the spots that these wrestlers come up with for these big time matches is so fucking awesome. And it's the shit that, like, as a wrestling fan, you appreciate because, like, this is what you're expecting. Obviously, you're not going to get this on a week-to-week basis, but, like, these fun spots and pushing the envelope just a little bit more when it comes to these big matches. Obviously, you don't need to do it for every single one of them, but this is what it needs to be, pushing the envelope for these matches. And in a tournament like the Owen Hart tournament, this is where you got to tell your stories with the tournament. Obviously, you can't necessarily do a whole lot of storytelling prior to the tournament unless there's a historied rival. But this is where you tell your stories in said tournament and using the tournament. So since Swerve ended up beating Bandito, he advances to face the winner of Claudio Castagnoli and Brody King. And honestly, if I had to be a betting man, I believe that Brody is going to beat Claudio, and we are going to get the rematch of Swerve and Brody King, and we all know what they did in that first match. You know they're going to try and top that shit in the second one. So it's going to be really, really interesting. It's going to be really, really fun. The next match we had for AEW Double or Nothing was the Fatal 4-Way match for the AEW Women's title. It was Tekla versus Jamie Hayter versus Hikaru Shida versus Chris Statlander. It was a fun little Fatal 4-Way. Nothing too overly noteworthy or crazy, but Tekla ended up surviving. She retains the AEW Women's Championship, which rightfully so. She has been on fucking fire ever since she won that title. So obviously the right winner won. Curious to see what that's going to mean for the contenders going after said title. And considering looking at the tournament, there's nothing too crazy that stands out, but I'm willing to keep an open mind to it, if I would say. After that, we had the Stadium Stampede match. We had Chris Jericho, the Bucks, Kenny Omega, the Hurt Syndicate, and Jack Perry versus Ricochet. The rest of the Demand, Andrade, Mark Davis, and the Dogs. This was absolute chaos. Very much living up to the Stadium Stampede name. It pains me, though. I wish they could have built a little bit more to this match from week-to-week television. It really just didn't seem like there was enough substance there to give it a Stadium Stampede match, if you know what I mean. Honestly, it felt like just putting people on the show for the sake of putting people on the show. But either way, it was still fun. It was very chaotic. It spread throughout the locker room, the arena, just different aspects of what makes Stadium Stampede special in the first place when they did it back in 2020. But there were a bunch of giant dives, backstage brawls, weapons, food fights, comedy spots, and a lot of super kicks. A lot of super kicks. But there was one wild spot that teased Jack Perry hitting Mark Davis with a bus, which I was like, there's no fucking way they're actually doing that. But the finish came after a multi-man attack sequence, and Jericho ended up hitting the lion salt for the win, calling back to the story that him and Ricochet were telling for, the past month, 2 months. So after the match, though, Jericho paid tribute to Sabu by literally jumping off the steel steps through a table and no-selling it, which I'm very 50-50 on it. I appreciate the tribute. I just feel like no-selling a table spot is probably not the greatest way to do that. In my personal opinion, you don't want to literally kill everything you've been, trying to sell. You know what I mean? But either way, you can't really complain there. And then our main event, AEW World Title, MJF versus Darby Allin. If MJF loses, he has to shave his head. It was presented perfectly, honestly. And we all know the rivalry between Darby and MJF. So, literally everything sold itself, and people were genuinely on the edge of their seat to see if MJF was actually going to lose and have to shave his head. But the match itself was very fun. It was paced perfectly. MJF is so stellar in the ring. Darby Allin is a freak of fucking nature. So we knew what we were expecting here. Darby and MJF are very much soulmates in wrestling. It's very few and far between where you find your soulmate in wrestling, and you can have multiple soulmates in wrestling. Like for me, for example, my soulmates would be Salem Crane, Miles Mason, honestly, Preston Palmer. We've only been in the ring twice, 3 times, and each time it's been fucking perfect. Like, you can only find a soulmate in wrestling so many times, but when you find that person that you just automatically click with no matter what, it's just like, it's so secondhand, it's so just go with the flow, and it's so easy, and it looks fucking awesome. That's what Darby Allin and MJF was. But there was a big spot where Darby jumped off the stage setup, through a table, did a coffin drop, ends up getting MJF back in the ring, but it just wasn't enough. MJF ended up using nefarious acts with the referee's back turned, and he ended up pinning Darby Allin with a headlock takeover to, for the 3rd time, regain the AEW World Championship. And that's literally as far as in-ring what we got. After the match, MJF ended up just starting to beat down on Darby again. Out comes Kevin Knight for the save. And we're like, okay, Darby's getting stretchered off. But then Kevin Knight climbs to the top rope and he looks at Darby and he hits a UFO on Darby, flips over the stretcher and just starts beating the piss out of him. And it's crazy to think that we were talking on this podcast not that long ago that Kevin Knight, if they want to make him, the star that they say he is, give him more substance. And one of my recommendations was turn him heel. Give him more substance. Give us a reason to genuinely care. We all know what we're getting when we see a Kevin Knight match. But the jet is just, it's not enough there. Other than, he can jump high. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's a major thing with a lot of these young wrestlers. Like, there's just not enough substance. Like, yeah, you can be like, but you're the Spectre. You're the Spectre Jaden Mercer. What does that mean? Well, I was half possessed by a mask or a demon that was living inside the mask. So there was at least substance there. If you have a moniker or a nickname, make sure you have some substance with it. So I appreciate the heel turn. I'm curious to see what that's going to look like, considering he is still the TNT champion. And after a big heel turn like this, the last thing you want to do is literally pump the brakes and halter any sort of momentum the guy has. So realistically, I think he's going to be holding on to that TNT title for a little bit longer. Probably all in if I had to be a betting man. But either way, I think that's a great move. We got the right outcome with MJF and Darby. I know we all said that Darby Allin's title, when he beat MJF, that title run, the run itself was solid. I mean, the dude worked his ass off. But it's crazy because it's just like you look at the history of babyface champions that Tony Khan has had over the years. And it always seems to be some sort of like dip. You know what I mean? Wrestling is always made up of highs and lows and your peaks and valleys. You hear it all the time from wrestlers. You hear it in interviews, dirt sheets, podcasts, whatever you fucking listen to. There's always going to be peaks, valleys, highs, and lows. Anytime Tony Khan puts the title on a babyface, you hit that peak, you hit that moment. But then it eventually just dips down. And then once you have a credible heel, they'll regain the title or they'll beat the babyface, and then it starts to go up again. Now, I don't know if that's necessarily how it's supposed to be. I would love to see a babyface actually have a really solid story-based run. But honestly, you look at the run that he had and the matches he produced and was a part of, they really were actually solid. I just don't think the decision was at the right time to do it. That's my one gripe about the Darby Allin title run with the world title. I appreciated them taking a risk. People said they need to take more risks. That was definitely a risk. And it was actually a solid title run. I just wish that there would be more substance. And honestly, it's not just AEW. WWE has that exact same problem right now. Everything about their product feels lifeless. It feels soulless. There's no substance there. Speaking of WWE, let's just go ahead and hop right into what they did. We're going to start with Monday Night Raw, which happened on Monday. The show started with Obafemi and Paul Heyman addressing Brock Lesnar's return last week. And essentially some words ended up leading to the rematch that we're now getting at Clash in Italy on Sunday. Brock Lesnar versus Obafemi Part 2. I know I didn't get a chance to talk about this on episode 18 last week because we did a live special where I just talked about me returning to pro wrestling, which happened about 2 weeks ago. If you guys want to check that episode out, links in the description, or you can hit that card there. Either way, it's fine. But Brock Lesnar returned last week to attack Obafemi. Now, granted, I appreciate that we're finally getting Oba into something a little more story-based, if that makes sense, and not doing the fucking garbage open challenges. But you took a man in Brock Lesnar who physically retired at WrestleMania, and not even 2 months later, you're bringing him back. Like, what does that mean to the world of Brock Lesnar? I don't know if it's the money that made him call back or what, but either way, if you retire, which I guess in pro wrestling, not everybody's ever retired unless like you stand on business with it. But me personally, it rubbed me the wrong way because you lay your boots and your gloves in the ring, you should be done right then and there. AJ Styles standing on business. John Cena standing on business right now. I just wish that they did the same with Brock. And you can't tell me that Triple H can't fucking find any sort of interesting storyline for Obafemi right now other than Brock Lesnar. Nothing. Come on, dude. Like, what are we doing? So either way, I'm still excited to watch the sequel and the rematch. But now the next question is, does Obafemi beat Brock Lesnar again? And this is the part where I'm going to have to say I don't think he does. I think if we know WWE the way that we do, Oba is going to lose. Brock Lesnar is going to get his rematch. Gonna get the win, and then it's gonna lead to the fucking trilogy where Oba, manhandles him at Mania. Brock Lesnar beats him at Clash in Italy. And eventually this is all gonna boil over at fucking SummerSlam. I'm telling you right now. I guarantee ChatGPT said the same thing, since that's how they want to write their storylines. Like, let's not kid ourselves here. It's not great. It's not ideal. But I guarantee that's what they're going to do. Next thing of importance from Monday Night Raw was the contract signing between Roman Reigns and Jacob Fatu. Really nothing of note happened here. Other than, hey, we're doing tribal combat on Sunday. And pretty much just laying out the rules of tribal combat and just them throwing out the possibility of Jacob Fatu beating Roman Reigns. Do I think that's going to happen? No, I don't. I genuinely don't think Fatu is going to beat Roman. If he does, then we could be cooking something. Because Roman doesn't necessarily need to be there. He can definitely stick to that part-time act. I mean, he's over as can be. But if you want to elevate your future, which that's exactly what Jacob Fatu is, maybe this would be his crowning moment in Italy. You know what I mean? And then from there, now you can tell the story of the unhinged werewolf with the title who has no remorse, no conscience, nothing business savvy. Just this crazy guy that holds the title and the Ulafal. He's the new tribal chief. And you just have him roughshod all over Monday Night Raw. And then this is where you find your true hero to come in and make the save. I saw somebody posted on Twitter, literally have Jacob Fatu beat Roman and then have Obafemi be the conquering hero to Jacob Fatu. Which, low-key, that's not a bad idea. If I'm being completely honest, that's really not a bad idea. But considering what's probably going to happen, I'm going to say that Roman hangs on to the title and Jacob Fatu falls in line. If I had to make my predictions right here. You know what I mean? Penta retained the Intercontinental Championship against Javon Evans, it was actually a really solid match. My one gripe with the match is during their big sequences, there was a lack of selling. Very much a lack of selling. And it's not just a WWE thing, it's an AEW thing, it's an indie thing. It's just what's popular right now. And it pisses me off because selling is one of the most important things in wrestling. You gotta make the shit seem real. If you don't make the shit seem real, people already know it's an act. Now you're just literally slapping it right in their face. It doesn't mean that it's bad, but you're definitely putting the business at risk by continuing to do that. LA Knight announced himself for the King of the Ring tournament. Sounds like that's going to start next week, Monday on Raw. And he calls out Roman Reigns, and he says as soon as he wins that King of the Ring tournament, he's coming right after the World Heavyweight Championship. And that's where Jimmy Uso got involved, and they had some exchanged war of words. I mean, it definitely teases the idea that LA Knight is going to be the winner of the King of the Ring, which he needs a fucking win, like real bad right now. But, I mean, I guess I would have to look at the rest of the bracket, and we'd have to see those qualifying matches to see, okay, what does this bracket actually look like, and who needs to win more? Obviously, if they're already pushing LA Knight like this, chances are he's going to be in the finals, or he's going to be the winner. Which, good for him. He needs a fucking win so bad. Like I said before, I just wish that it's so shitty to say this, but it's just like you're going to have the King of the Ring tournament, and then chances are they're going to be going after either Gunther, because I'm predicting that Gunther is going to beat Cody at Clash in Italy, or you're going to have them go after Roman. Because I'm predicting that Roman is going to beat Jacob Fatu. So either way, they're going to get fed to whatever champion is there. Which is shitty, unless they put Cody Rhodes in the King of the Ring tournament. Because God forbid, we need another fucking Cody Rhodes wins LOL moment. I can very much see that. Cody would end up losing the WWE title on Sunday at Clash of Italy, and then end up qualifying for the King of the Ring tournament just to march right through that tournament, wears the crown, and be like, oh, look at that, Cody wins, LOL. Like, fuck that. Like, are we that fucking lazy? Let's be real here. I'm hoping that's not the case, but can never rule that possibility out. Seth Rollins beats Montez Ford in a very solid match. It definitely continues the turmoil between Ford and Rollins with the Street Profits and Rollins trying to team up with the Vision. They teased it all show about how Seth is trying to convince the Street Profits to just work together. We don't have to like each other, but we got to work together to take down the Vision. The Vision, meanwhile, Logan Paul is out with a torn tricep. That was part of the news. We'll touch upon that and what that looks like later on. But with Logan being out, that now makes Braun Breaker the automatic tag team champion with Austin Theory. So I'm curious to see what that leads to. I did see, though, that Bronson Reed is getting close to being cleared. So, we could just have an intertwining of people where we have Reed, Breaker, and Theory versus Rollins and the Street Profits. I could very much see that happening. But at first, during the show, Ford was just like, I don't trust you. We're your brothers, and just talking shit. So they ended up settling it in the ring, and Seth Rollins won. After the match, Theory attacked Angelo Dawkins and gave him a concerto on the steel barrier on the ramp, which then Montez Ford snapped out of. He's like, all right, yeah, we'll work together pretty much. Rey Mysterio beat Rusev to become the number one contender for the Intercontinental Championship. Afterwards, Ethan Page ended up attacking and teaming up with Rusev, but out came Dragon Lee to make the save. So either way, we're getting more pieces added to the mid-card, which is great. I appreciate that. Rey Mysterio and Penta have a very much a quote-unquote dream match in WWE. I know they had some killer matches down in Lucha Underground, so I'm curious to see if they're going to recreate any of that magic in the WWE world. I personally don't think they will, but there's always hope. You never say never in the world of wrestling. But it's definitely going to be a cool match. Nobody's going to complain about a Penta Rey Mysterio match. And you got some nice pieces with Rusev, Ethan Page, Javon Evans, and now Dragon Lee. Definitely just building up that mid-card more, because obviously they need some help. And considering all the other pieces that have been left off, like what is Finn Balor doing other than going after the Judgment Day? What does Dominic Mysterio have going on at the moment other than the AAA Mega Championship? There's a lot more pieces that you can still add in if needed, but I think they got a really solid base right now, and you got to pretty much double down on, just integrating that and nailing that home that, hey, this is going to be our mid-card going forward. Once we have our rotation, then we'll kind of see what the landscape of the main event looks like before we start bumping up and bumping down and either just staying put. Bayley and Lyra Valkyria ended up beating Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez after Dominic and Liv Morgan got ejected from ringside area. Nothing crazy, just building up Bayley and Lyra as a legit tag team in the women's division, even though the tag team titles right now don't really mean a lick of anything. But hey, momentum is momentum in wrestling, and that's a very, very important thing. That was really pretty much about it from Monday Night Raw. For SmackDown, I really don't have any sort of crazy notes, because let's be real. SmackDown is so fucking stupid. It's so garbage. So we're going to kind of touch upon it as quickly as possible while just kind of hammering some of the major points. Shinsuke Nakamura faced off against Tama Tonga, and Tama Tonga ended up helping Shinsuke after the match because of the backstage intertwining of the two. But Tama Tonga ended up defeating Nakamura during the match due to the bloodline interference. And the babyfaces ended up getting attacked, but out came Damian Priest for the save, and the babyfaces then ended up standing up tall. Tiffany Stratton defended her U.S. Women's Championship against Lash Legend in an open challenge. Fuck the open challenge. Honestly, it's so fucking lazy. Nia Jax and Chelsea Green interfered during the match, and Tiffany ended up retaining because of the interference and the shifting of momentum. I will say, Tiffany Stratton seems to be, I don't want to say halted, but you can tell from her reign as WWE Women's Champion till now, something has definitely changed. I can't like put my finger on exactly what it is, or if the injury is still bugging her, or whatever the case, but something's definitely not right. I mean, I'm glad that, she's doing her best job with the U.S. title, but something is definitely missing. Trick Williams versus Carmelo Hayes. It was reigniting their rivalry, but Ricky Saints ended up attempting to interfere, but it ended up meaning nothing. Trick Williams retains against Carmelo. It sucks because I hope this is literally, like I said before, I hope this is to reignite the feud rather than just have it be a one-off match. And if that is the case, I feel like they could be doing a lot more, and they could be doing a lot better. Rhea Ripley, Charlotte Flair, and Alexa Bliss were arguing backstage. Jade Cargill's group attacked them and pretty much teased the instability of the women's title scene for the Clash in Italy. The next match we had was Solo Sikoa versus Damian Priest. Nothing too crazy, just more bloodline shenanigans. And Solo Sikoa ended up beating Damian Priest due to interference. It's the same shit every single Friday. Fucking bloodline match, different match. Bloodline match, different match. Bloodline match, different match. Interferences in every single one of them. Fuck that. But then the main talking point. It was our main event. It was Cody Rhodes versus Sami Zayn. And it actually did feel like a big fight feel. The match itself was actually fairly solid. But Cody ended up beating Sami Zayn. After the match, Gunther attacked Cody and locked in a sleeper hold. And as he's got that choke hold locked in, Sami Zayn just stood there and watched Cody get choked out, essentially still teasing and playing off that story of Sammy's so used to being the good guy, and now he's finally starting to become the bad guy. Or, in his eyes, just mind his own business. And you don't need to necessarily help your friends if it's going to hurt you. Definitely a different aspect, but that was really about it for SmackDown. There was literally nothing crazy. SmackDown needs a fucking huge overhaul. On to the news. We got a little bit of news here that I want to touch base on. This past week, Ludwig Kaiser, aka El Grande Americano, was arrested on battery charges. And now, I know when the news initially broke, everybody went, oh shit, what the fuck is, like, you're this close to your AAA mask versus match. You're this close to your AAA match against Chad Gable, the mask versus mask match. And this is what happens. But after the news kind of broke and things started to slowly start to come out, we're going to touch base kind of just briefly on the long story, less long of it. Richard Reep stated that he was battered by an unknown white male just outside of the elevator on the 12th floor. He advised that at approximately 6:30 at night, He entered the elevator and was followed by an unknown white man and an unknown white female. And then he stated that the elevator ascended and the male and female started uncontrollably being intimate, and he described it as aggressively kissing. So they were making out in the fucking elevator. Reap then said at the 12th floor, he said, "Please have some manners." And then that's when this unknown white male put hands and feet all over this dude. But then as Kaiser's side came out, it actually was he was in Mexico prepping for the mask versus mask match when this news broke. And he literally flew back to the States to turn himself in because he figured, okay, the description lines up. They put a bunch of photographs of who it could have been, and the guy pointed that, oh, it was Kaiser. And so he literally flew back, turned himself in, and pretty much the attorney has been doing the work for him at this point. But from his side of the story, it was him and I forget the name off the top of my head. I forget her name. But she is a Spanish WWE announcer that I believe it's his girlfriend, if I'm not being mistaken, actually. But they were the ones in the elevator, and this Richard Reap dude pretty much said something around the lines of, "You guys better have some fucking manners before I call ICE," which is really, really fucked up, by the way. And honestly, that deserves to get hands and feet put on you. I mean, you're gonna shit talk a man's girl, and then especially some racist shit like that, and you ain't gonna expect to get fucking hands thrown? You must be out of your goddamn mind. Obviously, this is a very ongoing story, but as the news and reports started coming out more and more on the incident, the more people are starting to be like, okay, Kaiser was actually in the right here. This guy was just a piece of shit, and he fucking deserved it. But obviously, we won't know until after the court dates. I don't even know when the court dates are off the top of my head, but definitely something to keep an eye on. And will WWE punish him? I guess we're going to have to wait and see. I feel like they're waiting to make any sort of necessary action until after they know what truly happened. Obviously, you can only do so much right now. They would be foolish right now to fucking fire the man. They would be foolish to fine the man. They'd be foolish to do anything. It's, you hear it all the time. Pretty much innocent until proven guilty. That's what WWE is going the route of. Versus, years ago, and there's fucking story upon story upon story with this, it's guilty until proven innocent. And we know how well that fucking works. So I'm glad that they're at least waiting the fucking course, staying the course, and just to wait and see what the verdict is before they make the necessary actions that they need to. I think at worst, he'll get a slap on the wrist, he'll get a nice fine, maybe get suspended for like 2 weeks at bare minimum, if he is innocent in all this. If not, I could see him getting suspended for a couple months. I could see a major fine. Would they fire him? That remains to be seen. Obviously, you won't know until all the details come out. Next little piece of news. WWE is looking to rebuild their tag team division from within. Pretty much alluding to the fact that, hey, we need more tag teams, and we just fired a bunch of tag teams, so we need more tag teams. How about you use the fucking tag teams that you have and you use them properly? Versus, let's fire them and then try to build them from within. If you have fucking teams in NXT that are ready, different story. But from my understanding, and I don't watch NXT religiously like I used to, because honestly, I don't think it's all that crazy at this point. You got a few sleepers here and there, but nothing crazy down there right now. I don't think they have a whole lot of tag teams that are ready. And so now you're trying to build tag teams from within. You gutted the Wyatt Six. You gutted Motor City Machine Guns. You gutted the New Day. that in of itself is like half of your tag team division. It wasn't even that great to begin with. And now you're going to start to push this, oh, we need more tag teams. We need better tag teams. It seems so fucking foolish. It's just fucking laziness. It's just ridiculous business talk. That's all I'm hearing. Why would you fire a bunch of your tag teams if you knew your tag team division needed help? Why don't you actually book your tag team division like you fucking care about it? First and foremost, give it one set of titles. You don't need a SmackDown tag titles and you don't need a Raw tag titles. Literally treat it like the women's title. One set of tag team titles and the teams can float between brands for said titles. Easy fucking fix. And then tell stories with your tag team titles. Have them mean something. Put on fucking banger matches. Have these matches take time. Not that hard. Going off the tag teams, Enzo Amore was spotted training at the PC, essentially alluding to the fact that he is going to be making a WWE return. Crazy enough, Enzo was supposed to be in Wisconsin 2 weeks ago, but canceled last minute due to a different booking opportunity, which that ended up getting canceled. And then literally like maybe a few days after that, that's when this news story broke about him being spotted at the PC. Crazy how all that shit works. It really is kind of crazy. But with that being said, going off of the tag teams, everybody remembers Enzo and Cass. And Big Bill, his contract is up in a few days. Do we see him not resign with AEW and go over to WWE with Enzo to reform Enzo and Cass in the big in 2026? I mean, I would love to see it. I thought they were a phenomenal tag team. I just feel like WWE didn't give them justice the first time around. But I'm curious to see. I think that would be great for them. They were very over as a tag team, and clearly both of them haven't reached those heights since splitting up. So I think a reunion would be really, really cool. Will they do that, though? That I'm not 100% sure. Obviously, these are all just rumors and speculations, but I could definitely see Enzo and Cass returning to WWE to help rebuild that tag team division. And then the last little piece of news I have, we touched upon it when we were talking about Monday Night Raw. Logan Paul was diagnosed with a torn tricep from last week's match. I believe it was with the Street Profits that it happened. And he is going to be out for roughly 6 months. Sucks to see anybody get hurt. Sucks to see anybody get injured. But it's just the nature of the beast. Obviously, you know he was getting bigger. And he looked bigger in the ring. But at the same time, bigger muscle mass, trying to do all these athletic moves and just this crazy movement on top of that, because he had an insane arsenal. And Logan Paul was actually a solid ass worker. It really sucks to see. Obviously, I feel like the Vision at this point is cursed. Everybody should fucking leave the Vision. Braun Breaker doesn't need him. Bronson Reed doesn't need the Vision. Theory, honestly, could probably go without the Vision as well. But, I mean, Theory's just the one that I'm very, very concerned about, because I love the transformation turning from what he was with Vince to the pressure that we see now. I love this Theory. I just don't think WWE exactly knows what to do with him without the Vision backing him. You know what I mean? So, it sucks, but Braun Breaker is the next guy to be the tag champs with Theory. And then once Bronson Reed comes back, I'm sure everything's going to kind of just fall into place. So it sucks, but at the same time, take your time, get rested up, get healthy, and then when you come back, you'll be just fine. And then the last thing I want to touch upon before we call this episode a night was Saturday night's main event, which happened on Saturday, obviously. The matches itself were actually really solid, and they were given time. Like, this is how WWE needs to do pay-per-views. Like, they literally took, hey, Backlash got some solid praise. Let's run with it. And honestly, like, it flew by. It was great. If only they could actually do that with all of their pay-per-views going forward. We had the Vision versus the Street Profits. I'm not going to go move for move in these. It's honestly not worth it. But the Vision ended up beating the Street Profits for the tag titles, so the Vision retains the tag titles. Penta versus Ethan Page for the IC title. It was very solid. Very, very good match. Ethan Page is right where he needs to be. He's just absolutely killing it. Penta retained, obviously. Becky versus Sol Ruka for the Women's Intercontinental Championship. The match itself was fine up until the finish. The finish ended up being so fucking sloppy because Sol Ruka botched the Soul Snatcher again, which I've talked about on this fucking podcast. I said, it's a very, very impressive move, but if you can't consistently do it, then we got to start having a different conversation, which here we are now. This is what, the second, third time that she's fucked up the Soul Snatcher, and it wasn't even Jessica Carr's fault. It wasn't Becky's fault. It was literally the move. It's a very complicated move, and considering you used to do it all the time in NXT, where you had constant repetitions and just, it was literally muscle memory. Now when you apply it to the main roster, where you have a much lighter schedule and you don't have enough ring time, obviously these mistakes are going to happen. So we got to start having that conversation of, do we keep the Soul Snatcher? Do we put it on the back burner for these big time matches? Or what are we going to do? I personally vote, give her a new temporary finish, one that she can consistently do every single match, and then save the Soul Snatcher for big time matches. That's my final verdict on it. But Becky ended up retaining the Women's Intercontinental Championship. It's going to lead to Clash in Italy. Brie Bella and Paige versus Nia Jax and Lash Legend for the women's tag titles. Brie and Paige ended up retaining. Then we had a 6-woman tag. We had Jade Cargill, Michin, and B-Fab versus Rhea Ripley, Charlotte Flair, and Alexa Bliss. Jade Cargill's team ended up taking the win in this one, and Jade stood tall afterwards, gaining momentum for the rematch against Rhea at Clash in Italy. And that was really about it for Saturday night's main event. There was really nothing too crazy. It obviously didn't feel like a premium live event because it's technically not a premium live event, but I do feel like they need to take the good things about the Saturday night's main event, giving the wrestlers time, letting things play out, giving everything time, very little to no commercial breaks, and then apply that for your premium live events. If each match on a premium live event went anywhere from 12 to 15 minutes with minimum commercial breaks, you wouldn't hear a fucking peep out of anybody, especially not me. Because that's how it should be done. You're paying fucking $30 a month just to watch a premium live event that doesn't feel fucking premium. Fuck that garbage. Get that shit out of here. Either way, rant is done. And then Sunday, we have Clash in Italy. We're going to do, we pretty much brushed over this from the podcast, but we're just going to brush right back over this. Obafemi versus Brock Lesnar, part 2. I'm hoping Oba wins, but give me Brock Lesnar to give Obafemi his first loss in WWE. Becky Lynch versus Sol Ruka. Becky Lynch versus Sol Ruka for the women's IC title again. Give me Sol Ruka to beat Becky Lynch. Cody Rhodes versus Gunther for the WWE title. Give me Gunther. Rhea Ripley versus Jade Cargill for the women's title. Give me Rhea to retain. And Roman Reigns versus Jacob Fatu for the World Heavyweight Championship in Tribal Combat. Give me Roman Reigns to retain. And that's going to do it for episode 19 of the SpectreVerse Podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, leave a like and please hit that subscribe button and turn on that bell for notifications. If you got any sort of comment, whether you agree, disagree, whatever the case, throw it down below. I always respond to comments. And you guys can also go follow me on all social media platforms. That is Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at JariSpectre. You guys can also follow the SpectreVerse on Facebook as well. That's at the SpectreVerse. Anytime a podcast goes up or anytime I go live right here on YouTube, you guys can go check it out there. And that's going to pretty much do it. There's plenty of content you guys can actually go ahead and watch. Playlists will be here. I got some live streams you guys can check out. Plenty of cool stuff you guys can stick around for. And the best way to do that is by hitting that subscribe button. And now it's time for me to go watch Oklahoma City versus San Antonio. Go Spurs. And hey, congratulations to the New York Knicks. Fucking New York is going to become Gotham City at this rate. See you guys for episode 20 next week. Peace out.
Summon the Spectre.